just feel like I need to go ahead and just start talking or just talk about just my own journey, my struggle with mental health. Um, uh, this is a little challenging for me because normally I'm recording, everything, and if I don't want to put it up, then I don't have to put it up. So it's interesting. Um, so I battle with anxiety and PTSD, and I think most for a long time in my life, I was able to push through. I just didn't even know that I didn't even know there were names for those things. I had no idea that I was actually struggling with depression. I had no idea that I was actually battling anxiety. I had no idea what was happening. And so I remember being in therapy years ago, like in my 20s, and my therapist at the time, offered me antidepressants. And I was like, no, what's wrong with you? No, I don't need that. I mean, just me being in therapy was a big thing. Why am I even having these conversations? I'm having this conversation because I'm really being able to identify what we feel as actually a real problem. And so we learn to push through, move through, keep acting like nothing is normally do. Like I said, I normally don't do live and my connection is unstable. They keep saying that. This is, of course, like I keep saying, it's a little nerve wracking for me because one of the hardest things that's for me is to always to talk about my mental health. When I do talk about it, I am nervous, because it's putting myself out there, and I would rather keep those things private. So this week has been a really rough week for me. We're on Thursday. I started noticing that I started noticing on Monday that I didn't have energy to do anything. So I wasn't able to operate at my full capacity. But knowing me and how I normally handle things is like I'm a push, which is why a lot of times wasn't actually an actual battle. Like it's just, okay, you're sad, move on. Oh, you're mad, move on. Oh, you're anxious, move on. Not being able to recognize that I was battling some stuff. And so this week has been a rough week for me. Monday, struggling with getting out of bed, struggling with seeing clients. Tuesday, literally can't get out of bed. Just want to stay in bed all day. Um, Battling, love you too, Paula, my dear prayer partner. Love you. Sad, feeling completely like sad. Like I'm talking about sad as in you could feel that emotional pain and happening. I'm just feeling that pain. Um, tired, tired all the time, not wanting to do anything. And full disclosure, I take medicine for depression, which also should help with anxiety. Um, and sometimes I take a depression medicine when I'm gonna have, like, I know I feel my body about to have a panic attack. I will take a depression med, I mean an anxiety med. But it's just this week I couldn't push through. I could not push through this week. I literally was canceling clients left and right. This pushing through. Like I keep saying it, like I don't want to miss sessions with my clients. I don't want to miss anything with anybody. I want to show up for my friends, but I just could not. And so what happens when you're the strong person, when you're used to being the strong person, but you don't have any strength. You don't have enough strength to even cover yourself, much as give it to somebody else. Do you take a pause? Are you able to pause and say, all right, I know I'm strong. I'm always strong. I'm always strong. But this time in this moment, I feel weak. And I'm a Christian. So I normally tend to tap into the strength of God when I can't. I remember in 2018, I was having really bad anxiety. I didn't even know I was having anxiety. I didn't know that was anxiety. I didn't know that was panic attacks to me. Open about her struggle with mental health issues. I couldn't understand why she couldn't just get up out of bed. Like, what? Get up and go. Get up and go. And I've had to really get to a place now where I feel that to fully understand it. This stuff is real. And sometimes we're ashamed. When you're a Christian, you're ashamed. When you're a therapist, I'm a therapist. You're ashamed that you struggle with these things. When you are in a certain profession, when you have a certain faith, when you're from a certain demographic, a certain culture, you feel that shame. Oh, okay, well, I'm extremely sad today. I can't tell anybody. Let me just hide away from the world. I am overly anxious today. I can't be around anybody because I'm going to probably pop off. Let me just hide away from the world, right? Because you're used to being that strong person. You're used to being the person who, and so when you can't handle your own stuff, right? It's a shame. It feels shameful. So guess what? Hide. And so I've been hiding a little bit, right? Because I can't even talk. I can't even I don't have the energy to even have a conversation with my friends. I don't have the energy to have a conversation with my family. I literally don't. My dad stopped by last night. It took a lot of energy to just sit there and have just engage him. It took a lot. And so I normally struggle with feeling ashamed. I don't want people to know that I battle this stuff. Sometimes I'm good, right? I have moments when I'm good. And then there are moments when it's too much for me to handle. When it just feels like my medicine isn't working. It just feels like the only thing I can do is really tap into God or call on God. But even that is like, oh my God, I'm gone for a second, and then it's like I'm good for a second, then it's like I need it again. I need it again. And how do you what do you do? What do you do when you're going through this? How do you allow yourself to be supported? Because if shame is a part of it, then you don't want people to know. You don't want people to know. If you're the strong friend, then most of the times you'll feel like nobody can hold you up, right? And I know for me, my therapist has been on hiatus for a minute, therapeuticizing people. And then I'm like, man, whoa. And so this week has been my week when I'm struggling. I normally don't want to give something, like pour myself on anybody without me giving something to people, right? And so I want to be able to give some coping skills, some tools that I tend to use that is helpful. Sometimes it takes a lot for me to get to the space where I can use those tools. I'm just being honest. Like today, I went for a walk. I'm able to have this conversation with you because I got up and went for a walk. And I thank God for family. I thank God for family because I mean, the support system is real up in my house. I was able to get somebody to just go on a walk with me and help me. That helped me to get up and get out. My niece calling me. Like sometimes I may not want to talk to anybody, but when my Giselle calls, I will get up and I will talk to her. And that's helpful to me. So, who is your person that it doesn't take a lot of energy to talk to? Who is your person? Who is your person? The other thing is having a routine. I'm learning that when I went on my walk today, I remember because I tell clients, who struggle with depression, having a routine is helpful. And I realized that they're going to feel that. So if you already have that stuff out there in check, it's helpful to know that it's there. It just it's like a guide in a sense. And so going out this morning made me think to myself, you know what? I need to start walking again. This was helpful. This was helpful. Man, sometimes I'll do something as simple as coloring. Another thing is rest. We will be, with depression, you're going to get overwhelmed emotionally. You just want to stay in bed. There's a difference with that than there is a rest. Rest is recognizing that sometimes your brain may need to shut down a little bit. Your emotions may need to just kind of go and get to this space where this was going to happen. And so taking care of yourself, recognizing the signs before it gets to a place where you're having a crisis, because the crisis is real. The crisis is when you just can't get up and get out, but the signs are there before it happens. So what do? You want to make sure that you're putting your routine in place. You want to make sure that you have your support system in place. You want to make sure that you have those things that you know you would need before you get into a crisis to kind of help you to not go into the crisis. Um, I am learning how to just be also. The other side of that is that I am an overthinker. I think all the time. I learned something about myself this morning that when I was on the walk, my brain would not shut down. My brain was thinking about work. It was thinking about everything that I had to do. It was thinking about the people that I needed to reach out to. It was thinking about all of the things that I needed to get done. I didn't know how to just relax it in the moment. And I had to learn. One way to relax your brain is really to get outside of your head and look at your surrounding, right? So I'm on a walk this morning. Look at the leaves. Look at the trees. Look at the color of the leaves. Just look at the landscape. Look at things outside of yourself. When I went into a really bad depression in 20, was it 2011? Because I was turning, it was 2009 because I was turning 30. I was turning 30 in 2010. So it was 2010. And yes, 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 I'm old. And something that God had told me around that time, because I'm a thinker. So I'm always inside of my head, inside of my feelings. I'm a feeler and I'm a thinker. So God said to me, look up and not within. And that's something that I really have to remember to carry with me because I will try to figure it out. My brain will be trying to figure everything out. Like I will try to figure until nothing, until nothing is left. So looking outside of yourself rather than inside yourself because you can't fix the problem, right? You can't fix it. Sometimes it's not for you to fix. And sometimes there's not even a problem. So it's just trying to be able to see the beauty even when you're feeling tempted to just be inside and look at all that isn't. Yes, I'm breathing hard because these are all things that I'm having to really just work on and work through. Like I keep talking about the shame of having a mental health issue, the shame of having to deal with stuff. And I wish that my community knew the importance of giving your kids therapy from early on. Are depressed who struggle with depression are normally they are sad because they struggle with depression. They actually get depressed because they struggle, that they suffer from depression. They're sad about that too. So study shows that, right? A lot of times too in the spiritual community, we want to pray everything away. Sometimes suffer trauma, especially when you're a kid and you suffer trauma, it shifts your brain that actually your brain does not operate normally after that. And so it's like, what are the keys? What are the things that we can do to catch this stuff very early on so people like myself won't be adults battling this stuff? I mean, I just can't sleep. Just like there are times, at different times of the year where maybe I suffer from depression more than I would at another time. There are times when my body is so anxious and I just don't know because even though your brain doesn't remember certain things, your body will hold the memory of things that have happened to you. The other thing is that unresolved trauma, Christians see that as okay, generational curses. In science, we see it more so as if you don't work through it, right, it affects your kids. It's like I can't remember the name of it, but it's like if there's like, let me slow down and say it this way. So when your mother is pregnant with you, your egg for your child is in you. So if when your grandmother was pregnant with your mother had your like she had her eggs, the eggs that would have you in her system already. If grandma goes down onto you and all of this stuff, so if mom doesn't take care of her stuff, that continues to move on and move on to you. And so something that happens in our community also is that unresolved trauma that now goes onto our kids. So I can imagine when I think about myself, right? My grandmother struggled with depression. Nobody really knew what it was. Who knows if her mother struggled with depression? Because I grew up in Jamaica, where depression wasn't even a word. What was depression? What is depression? What is sadness? You know what I mean? What is sadness? What is trauma? What is mental health issue? What is anxiety? Those words weren't even words that were in my vocabulary as a kid. But it doesn't mean that the issues weren't there. The issues weren't there. I am coming from a culture of people who have been violated, whether physically or sexually. What do you do when you don't know what's wrong with and you don't even know why you're sad. What do you do when you have this extra feeling, this gut feeling in your chest, this always feeling of impending doom that's always there, this tightness in your chest? You don't know why it's there because nothing has been diagnosed in your family. People haven't dealt with their own stuff. So you don't even know what's wrong with you. All you know is that you feel sad to stay home one day, you're weak, right? If you decide to rest, you're weak. It's uncomfortable for you to even be like, not knowing what we're feeling, not knowing what our grandparents and great grandparents and parents struggled with, them not getting therapy for the stuff that they dealt with, or parents not getting therapy for their own trauma and the trauma of their parents, and then that stuff living in us. And so we wake up and we're sad. And some people don't know mom and dad. They don't know that mom and dad, mom talking to herself or dad talking to herself is schizophrenia. You know what I mean? They don't even know that sometimes that in and out stuff is psychosis. Like not being unaware because we're not taught what they really are. We're not taught to assess, and we're not taught to deal with stuff. We're not taught to seek help. And when we have these problems happening in our homes, in our minds, in our bodies, we don't want people to know that we've been us or that uncle or that daddy know that, right? You just want to keep it in. And then what happens is that all of the stuff stays in you. And guess what? We don't want us, we don't want we don't want people to know all the things. And this may not be everybody's story. As black people, things that are normal in our culture, but it's not good for us. And so what do? The first thing I would say, you have to, okay, that's normal. Your cat died. That's normal. Okay, that's grief. But if it's prolonged grief, it's just a situation where you can't get over it, pass by, time to get checked out. Time to get checked out. That means that is complicated grief. That if you're sad every single day or almost every day for the past 2 weeks, and you're having feelings of hopelessness, you've lost interest in the things that you know. If you have been sad enough for 2 years straight, then that is dysthemia. They've changed the name of it. I don't recall the name right now. And that's also another form of depression. If you have very high highs and very low lows, you may need to look at that. That could be bipolar. You know what I mean? But we don't know this thing in our community. It's normal for us to just be sad and not feel it because we're going to overwork ourselves and push through, and everything's going to be okay if we just keep working. But that's why we overwork, right? Because the minute we stop working, woe be unto us. Woe be unto us because we don't want to sit with our feelings. We'll go crazy because we're not used to dealing with our stuff. We're not used to dealing with it. Nobody's taught us to deal. All we've known is to work, 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 work. Have you ever seen your mom or your grandma? Like they just can't stay still. They can't stay still. Literally, they gotta get up. They have to get up and move and get up and move and get up and move. They can't stay still because they stay still. The mind keeps turning. The feelings are there. They don't know what to do with that. Stay busy. But staying busy doesn't solve the issue. Coping tools, positive coping tools is what solve the issue. And even that doesn't cure it. It just helps you to cope better. It helps you to cope better, but you have to know you have to be able to identify that what you're experiencing is not the norm. You got to be able to, you know what I mean? You have to be able to, if you are having this tightness in your body and tightness in your chest all the time and you don't know why, that may be generalized anxiety disorder where when you're always overthinking, you're thinking about everything, every single thing, the future, the past, the present, all over. There's a possibility. I've heard a lot of people, a lot of clients talk about um, just being uncomfortable going out in public, social anxiety, being scared, just all of these different things, because there are different things that would make that be something that may actually be diagnosed as social anxiety. But it's like various things, right? And the norm. I grew up with people in my home as a kid, aunties, cousins who they didn't deal with people. We would call like they don't know how to socialize. I was also that person. I have people now like in my family who are like, yeah. And you realize that some parts of that symptom of trauma. So if you don't deal with the stuff, right? Because behavior is one thing, dealing with the behavior is a whole nother thing. We love that whole behavior modification thing, but I believe that beyond the behavior is an issue. So what is the thing that's causing the symptoms? What is it that's causing you to feel the way that you feel? Let's address that. Let's address that, because I can tell you over and over, these are the things that you got to do to get over depression. These are the things that you got to do to deal with your anxiety. These are the things that you got to do to, oh, you got to get on meds. Even when you're on tools, additional coping skills or coping tools to aid in coping with depression. Yeah, medicine alone doesn't work. Medicine alone does not work. I take medicine for depression, and I got to get up and find different things to do to help me sometimes. Because, like I said, I've been in crisis mode this week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. This week has been it for me, and I can't even tell you what and why. I'm thinking back to my childhood, man, what happened around this time? Because I remember last year feeling the same way. So I'm like processing through, like, oh, okay, what could have happened that's made this? What's going on? Because if I can assess, if I can deal with if I can find it, right? Maybe I can find a way to work through that internally, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. But that's me. And like I said, sometimes my brain is going 100 miles per minute. So I'm just saying, just be aware. Be aware in our culture, in our community. We stuff and we stuck. We stuff it down with food. We stuff it down with entertainment. We stuff it down with gathering. Sometimes we see whatever it is, stuff that down because we're gathering with them. But we have to be responsible for taking care of ourselves, right? We got to be. And if you have young kids, you're responsible for taking care of those kids to make sure that they're not feeling and going through what you're going through. So you got to deal with your stuff, and you deal with it by recognizing, by admitting the truth to yourself. I have a problem. What I'm experiencing is not normal. Yeah, yeah, that's how I'm used to my mom, my dad, my grandparents, my aunties, my uncles, that person. I remember there was a time I couldn't even pay $10, $20 to attend therapy. I just didn't have it as a single mother. I didn't have it. Sometimes it's still a struggle. Finding have insurance because it's real in these streets. But there are people who are willing to work with clients. There are people who are willing to. I know people be willing to work with clients at a lesser price. You know, I mean, it's got to take care of you. You're important. You're special. You're special. And sometimes, yes, you have rough days, but you got to be able to determine if you're having a rough day or you're struggling with a mental health crisis. Because if the rough day lasts for more than 3 days, maybe it's a crisis. Maybe it's a crisis. Maybe it needs more help than just sleeping. Maybe it needs more help than what you're doing. For me, I was just like, I'm about to call, you know? And so I'm being honest right now because maybe this can help someone because I tend to be ashamed. I don't want people to know that I battle. Like this week has been rough. It's been rough. I am a mental health therapist who helps people, okay, with their problems, but I battle it too. I battle trauma. I battle the effects of childhood trauma. Some days it's harder for me than other days. Things. Some days are better than other days. I battle mental health issues because it was a part of my family system. Hey, people in my family have struggled with this thing. Some days are better than other days. And so I've been having a rough week. And instead of hiding and running away and just doing what I've been taught to do, don't share it. I'm choosing to share it. And I hope that you or someone you know will see this video, somebody outside of your friend circle. It's okay to reach out and talk to someone outside of your church circle. I was a pastor once. I had people who come to me and talk to me about their traumas. And I'll tell you this much. I can tell you this. A lot of pastors are not equipped to deal with the stuff that the church people have been through. A lot of pastors are not. They're not trained in it. They've not gone to school for it. Okay? Prayer Prayer is a beautiful thing. I believe in prayer. Prayer helps me. It's how I connect with God. I love talking to God because it helps me. It helps me. But there are times when I believe God created people for different reasons, right? And some of them, the gift of healing He has given. And I can tell you one of the blessings, and I feel this more as a therapist than I did as a pastor because I've done chaplaincy also. Because when you're talking to church people about their problems, you're more just listening to them, to tell you the truth. You're really just listening, and you need to refer out, right? You need to refer out. It's like I couldn't just be like, all right, well, I'm just going to give you therapy for this traumatic in you. Now, as a therapist myself, right? I'll tell you one of the most beautiful experiences I have as a therapist is when I see clients who come, they are, I don't want to say a hot mess, but I mean honestly, they are all over in their heads because their self-esteem is robbed, right? It's shot rather. They're having social issues. They don't know how to operate in their relationships with people. Um, they're emotionally imbalanced. They're having problems with dealing with their kids or just different things. And sessions in, you see a difference in them. A difference in them. These are people who maybe it's their first time even coming to therapy because they thought, it's not going to work. It's not a good thing. And let me be real. Some of these are white people. Okay, I have more white clients than I have black clients, and just to see, just to see what it does to a person who says, oops, I have some issues. Oops, what I'm feeling is not normal. Oops, let me reach out and get some help for it. Oops, let me get some help. Let me go talk to somebody outside of myself, outside of my friend group, outside of my family group, outside of my spiritual group. Let me have a conversation with them. And the person who they're talking to now has a tool. The thing is active listening. That's a therapeutic tool. And sometimes people don't know how to do that. Your friends may not know how to do that. Your family may not know how to do that. They may just automatically want to give you advice or just not be able to relate, right? More than their experiences. They are more than what has happened to them. Helping them to find tools to deal with the emotions that come up, teaching them how to emotionally regulate, how to cope with overwhelming emotions. Good therapist. And if you find a therapist that works for you, keep trying until you find the right one. You're gonna look, you're gonna look until you find a shoe you like. Then you're also gonna try the shoes on, and you're gonna try to find something. You're gonna try it until you find the one that fits you. So do the same thing when it comes to therapy. My name is Tricia. All right. For those of you who know, who may not know, and listen, I I will be doing some more of this stuff on my channel. I don't even consider this a channel because this was just my little YouTube thing where I would just watch people's videos and stuff. Still do, but just hope that if you see this is a blessing to you. Sometimes I'm all over the place when I'm talking, especially if I'm not like, you know, planned. It's not a planned conversation. This wasn't a planned one. This is just one of those things where I just felt overwhelmed and I just felt impressed to share. And it's funny that I feel better now that I've talked. And so this is also helpful. So the blessing of the Most High on your life, if you are not a Christian, if you're not a believer, I don't believe people have to be a Christian to know God, but that's the way that you know how to reach Him. The way that He reaches and connects with you, just connect with Him. Connect with the being that is higher than you, that gives you peace, that brings you peace, that keeps you focused, that helps you to know who you are. It gives you a sense of identity and a sense of purpose. And for me, that is God. Um, that is the person, the being who created me. And so I hope that you find your peace. I hope that you find some way, something that helps you to feel at peace with yourself and at peace with others around you. And just remember that you have purpose, that your life is more than your circumstances. Your life is more than the things that you have experienced. Your life is more than your trauma, it's more than your past, it's more than your pain. And for those who have never experienced pain and they're just rich, it's more than your money. Okay? It's more than your money, it's more than your joy. Life is more than these things. And you also get to be a partner in how you want your life to turn out to be. many blessings, and thank you for just even allowing me to even be able to just have this conversation. And